In this series, we'll learn how to create a CRUD website, which is going to be this blog using Node.js, Express, and MongoDB. Now here is a look at what we are going to create. We have a very simple blog, and we'll have the functionality to create a new blog. So just show you how that works. Put in our author, and I also added a WYSIWYG editor so that we can create HTML descriptions for our blog. So I could have big title, just give this a header, and then I could have some random text in here. Then we're also going to learn how to implement uploading of files. Click on save, we see that new blog is created. So we have a blog title, then we have our description rendered properly using HTML, and then when we head back to the index page, we can see the new blog we created. And also, this website is going to have the functionality to edit, so we can edit our post, make some changes, and we can also decide to delete our post. So let's get started. Here are some tools you need to have. So make sure you have Node.js installed in your computer. You can download that by just visiting nodejs.org, and you'll be able to download Node. And also I'm going to be using Compass, MongoDB Compass. So make sure you also download that. So that serves like a GUI, a graphic interface for us to see what's going on in our database. So make sure you have those two downloaded and installed. So the first thing I'm going to do is to have my VS Code open, and I already created a folder and I'm already in the folder. So I'll go to my terminal, I'll create a new terminal just to get my terminal opened, and then I'm going to initialize npm. So I'll do that by just typing npm init. So that would create a boilerplate code for you. So it's asking me for my package name. I can just hit enter for all the options we have here. So when that's done, you will see you have a package.json file that has boilerplate code for npm. So I'm going to go ahead and install all the dependencies we're going to need, and I'll do that by typing on the console. I'll say on the terminal, I'll say npm express. I'll give a space, I'll type the other package I want to install, which is going to be mongoose, and I'll also install EJS. Now Express is the server we're going to be using, mongoose is the DB, and EJS is simply a templating language that we can use to inject plain JavaScript into our HTML. So just let that run for a while. When it's done, I'll get back. So when that's done, if you have a look at your package.json, you will see you have some new details here. So you can see your dependencies. We have EJS, Express, and Mongoose, and you also see among your files you have a new file, a package lock.json file, and you're also going to have a node module folder. Now there's another dependency we're going to install. I'll just do that by saying npm save dev, and the name of the package is nodemon. Now what nodemon does is it helps us to automatically refresh a browser or server rather anytime we save our work. Now I use the --save-dev keyword because we are just going to use this package while we are developing our website. We're not going to need to push this or have it run on a real server. So all it does for us is that whenever we save, it restarts the server for us. So we don't need that online, we just need it while we are working. So my nodemon installed. I'm going to add a script. I'm still in my package.json file. I'm just going to get rid of this test because I'm not going to need it. So I'll add a script that I will run when I want to start my server. So I can just call it start development, so let's just say start dev so that it's short, and then what that's going to do is it's going to run nodemon and then I'm going to run a file called server.js. So I'll just create a new file. I'll call it server.js. So anytime I run this script in my terminal, Nodemon is going to check this file called server.js. So let's go ahead and just create our server. So I'll go to my server.js file, and I'm going to create a new const. I'll just call it express, and what that will do is I'll just require the express because we already installed that, and then I'll create another const which is going to be like my app, and I'll just initialize the express, and then I'm going to create a pod. Let's call it listen pod. So I'll just say app.listen, and what this is going to do for us is that it's going to listen to this pod. So I'll just save, and then I'll go to my terminal and I'll say npm run start dev. So this is going to, let me just show you, it's going to run the script when I hit enter. Oops, so I'll just go back to my terminal, hit enter, and just wait for that to run. So I'll go to my browser, just save this. I'll go to my browser, and then I'm going to type, let's go localhost 5000. Okay, so we can see our server is up and running. It says cannot get slash. Now what this means is that we do not have any routes defined yet. So it says cannot get, but let me just go back to my VS Code. You know what? I'm just going to resize this so that we can see this and the VS Code at the same time. Okay, I think that's better. Okay, so it says cannot get because we don't have a route yet. So let's create a route for it. So let's just create a route. So I'll create a route for the index. So I'll just say app.get, and in here I'll pass in the route. So I'll just use slash because that's our index, and then this route or routes they require, we can pass in a callback function, and this callback function requires a response, or rather a request and a response. And in the function itself, what I'll do is I'll just pass a response. So I'll just send a plain text. I'll say I am creating a node blog. I'll save. So you notice that since our node 1 is running, anytime I save, it restarts the server. I refresh, and then we can see that it works. So I'm sending this anytime I access this route. So for example, what routes could do for you is if I say slash, let's say slash blog, and let me just refresh, and then if I go to slash blog, you can see we get this response. So we're going to be using routes in that manner, in the sense that when we pass in the routes here in our server, we can be able to send HTML, text, or whatever we want to the web page. Okay, so I'll just go back, hit my refresh. Okay, so let's go ahead and send or render HTML here. Before we do that, I need to set the template engine I'm using. So templating, I'll just say template engine, and the template engine we're going to use is EJS. So I'll say app.set view engine, and view engine, and then the view engine we're using is EJS. So EJS is just one of the templating engines you could use. There are several of them out there that you could decide to use. Now I'll go ahead and create a folder. I'm going to just call it views, and in there I'll create an index.ejs file. Now in this index.ejs, I'll just fill it up with some boilerplate code of HTML. In here I'll just call it blog, let's call it a blog, and in the body I'll just have a h1 that says this is a blog. Okay, so let's get that to render. So in this route, which is the index route, we are not going to send. In this case, we're going to use render, and then we're going to pass in what we want to render, and what we're rendering is index. So this will automatically check our views folder and look for a file called index. So if I refresh this, you can see that HTML is there. So just to show you that that is actually working, if you make a change here, save, and refresh, you can see that. So it renders this HTML, or rather it renders this EJS, which contains HTML, anytime we go to this route. Now if you look at our goal, you notice that we're going to be having so many routes. We're going to have a route for edit. We want to edit the post. We're also going to have a route for delete. We want to delete the post. We're also going to have a route for when we want to create a new blog. So if I just make this big enough, you see that route here, blog/new. So let's go ahead and start creating those routes. So the way I'm going to implement that, it's rather than just having our routes here, I'll create a new folder and I'll call it routes. This is just a preferred way I like to do it, so that if I have different products, they're going to have different routes, or if I have different pages, they're going to have different routes. That way I could separate my routes based on what they are. So in here, I'm going to create a new file. I'm just going to call it blogs.js. Now this is going to be our routes. Okay, so I need to do a couple of things here. Let me just add a comment that says blog routes, so that I'll easily know what that is. And I'll just do the same const express, just to bring in express here. I'll say require, and I want to require express. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a const of router, and this is simply going to be using the router capabilities of express. And what I'm going to do is I'll need to export this. So say module exports router. Okay, so what it's going to do for me is that anytime I call, so I forgot an equal to. So anytime I make a reference to this router, okay, I'm exporting everything I'm going to do with this const out of this page to wherever I might need it. So what I'm going to do is I'll just simply create a route, and I'll do that by saying router.get, and this time I'll just put a slash, and of course we're going to pass two parameters, our request and our response, and all I'll do is I'll just the same way I'll just send a response that says this is the blog's let's say route. I'll save. Now I also need to tell the server that, oh hey, I'm using blogs as a router here. So I'll go back to my server.js. I'm gonna import, or rather I'll say const blog, this is a blog router, which is going to be equal to require, and I'm requiring that file we created. So I'll use the relative path by putting a dot slash, and I know it's inside route, put a slash blogs. So I'm requiring this whole blog.js router in our server by assigning it to a const of blog router, and then I am going to let the server know I'm going to be using that by saying app.use, not unsubscribe, app.use, and then I'm going to say blogs, and then I'm going to pass in the blog router. Now what this does is that, let me just head back here. So what this does is, this is a slash, this is like the home of our blog router, but then we're letting the server know that this blog router will, whatever router we put in this blog router is going to come after /blogs. So for example, let me just make this bigger. When I click on new blog, you can see we have a blogs/new. Okay, so what we have, I'll just open a new tab here and just say blog, and you can see this is a blog route. Now this response we sent here, so you can see all you needed was a slash, which is like an index route. But in the server itself, we're telling it that anytime we're calling up this blog router, it should have /blogs first. So if we want to get anything we put in that blogs router, we have to put a /blogs, and then anything comes after that. So for example, I'll go to my blogs now. I'll just change this to /new. So I enter, we see /new. It says this is the blogs route for new posts. Okay, I'll save that. Of course, when I refresh this, there's no more route there, but there's a route in blogs/new, so you can see that. So we're going to use that, or we're going to use this method to create routes for all routes that have to do with the index, like our edit, our delete, and our update routes. So let's just look at how we can pass data to our index files. So in my index route, I'll just pass in data, which is going to be in form of an object. So I'll just put a comma and then I pass an object. So I'll just say sample, and I'll just pass a sample text. I'll save. Now to access this in our EJX, so I'll just clean this. And then to write EJX in our HTML, we use the less than and then the %sign. And because I want to render just text, I'll use the one that has is equal to. So that's going to render text, and the text I want to render is sample. So if I refresh this, it's going to say sample text. So you can see we're passing in this. I can modify it here, and then you can see we can get that data in sample text. So using or having this in mind, we're going to be able to pass, let's look at our blog. We're going to be able to pass this information in form of an object to our blog page. So if we look at what we have here, we need to pass some information to our blog page. So I'm just going to get rid of all of this. I'll just call it blogs, and I'll pass blogs. Okay, so I'll just create a const of blogs, which is going to just simply be an array that just have one object in there. So I need to have title in there. I'll just copy this. And then I also need to have a description. I'll just call it snippets, because a snippet of our code. I'll just copy all of this, I'll paste here, and then I need to have an author, which is gonna be some T code. Then I need to have like created at, so the time was created. For now, I'll just copy this. I know I can pass in a function here. So I'll pass in the function dates.now. So that will get the current date for us. And I'll pass in description. No need for that. I will have to pass in the image much later. So for now, I'll just say placeholder.jpg. Okay, that will serve as our image. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy the HTML design that was done, and then I'll go to my EJX. I'll just paste that there. So if I have that refreshed, I can see I have like a boilerplate code for our blog. So I'll just fix these images. So I'll create a folder called public, which is going to be a publicly accessible folder. and in there I'm going to have a folder called images, and I'm going to just paste an image so that we can use that to see how our design looks like. Okay, so I have my folder and I've copied some of the images inside. So what I need to do is I need to let Express know that I'll be using this as my static folder. So more like a folder where it could get some of the public accessible files. So I'll go to my server and let's just say here, I'll say add.use, not unsubscribe, add.use express.static, and in here I'm going to pass the folder which is going to watch out for. That's going to be the public folder. So if I want to make reference to images, and just go back to my index, I just make a reference using a slash images and the image itself. So Express knows that it needs to go check in a public folder and then to find the images folder and whatever it's looking for in there. I'm using Bootstrap, so I have my Bootstrap link here. I have my material icon link for these icons that I'll be using, and I also want to make a reference to a CSS. So in my public folder, I'll create another folder called CSS, and then in there I'll have a file called main.css. So I'll just paste some of the CSS that was used to create this. Okay, so we have our CSS linked. Okay, so since we're passing in an array, so we'll have to find a way to loop through the arrays. For example, if we had more than one object here, which I'm just going to do right now, I'll just copy, I'll paste, I'll say the information will need 2. So this is 2 objects here, so we need to find a way to loop that and show the information in our index page. So I already have my HTML snippets, which is just shows information for one card. So I want to loop and then put the information in those cards. So I'm going to have a for each loop. So I'm going to write plain JavaScript in our HTML, and I'll do that by using the EJX. So I'll just get my EJS by using the less than and percent sign. Now there's no equal to, because I just want to have I want to run plain JavaScript here. So I'll say blogs for each. This is your plain JavaScript, and for each of the blog we're going to loop through the blog. We're going to loop through the blog and then we're going to output that information. So what I'm going to do here is, because I want to have plain HTML in here, so I'll just close this off with an EJX tag and also close this off here with an EJX tag. So this is kind of like creating a loop. So the loop starts here and ends here, and I can simply just stick away this comment. I can simply go in here, cut this, and have my normal HTML here. So I just refresh that. Okay, we have an error. Okay, so the mistake I have is that I didn't write my EJS closing tag properly. We have 2 array objects there, so you can see already the card is looping twice. So just to show you, if I delete this and save and refresh, the card will loop only once. So we already have that working for us. So all we need is in our index.js, we're just going to replace this HTML here with our EJX. So just go to my title. Since I want to output text, so I'll have the equal to in my EJX tag, and I'll say blog.title. If I refresh that, you can see it says the information we need, and then in here I'll pass in the snippets. So just find where that is. That's going to be here. I'll get rid of all that, have my percent sign and my equal to, and I'll say blog.snippet. So we're going to pass the snippet in there, I'll just copy this so that it's easier for me to close this. For me to do that, here it's going to be for author, so I'll just change this to author. Here is going to be for our created at. So save that and refresh. We can see we have that information. Now if I go back to my server, so for example, if I have another one, say information we need to, now refresh, we can see we have that looping already. So if you look closely, let me just zoom in a bit, you'll notice that our date, it's timestamp, so we're going to format that just a little bit better. So back in our code, then we just go to created at, I'll say .to local date string. So what this will do is it would change this to something we can understand. Okay, there's an error somewhere. Okay, so I'm just going to change this to new date. That's my created at, refresh. Okay, so that formats the date quite better. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to learn how to start working on our new route, new blog route, or new post route. We'll learn how to create data and store in the database. So if you like the video or this video has been helpful in any way, please leave a thumbs up. That will help me to create more videos. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.